Hello, my name is Steph, and today we'll be going over Black Cipher. Black Cipher is the hardest of all the ciphers, and as you can tell from right here, I already have a little thing set up. This is just a 9x9 grid of periods. You technically don't
In
need
reality,
them,
all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he
but
always has. Nothing has
I
changed.
like to have it because it's nice for spacing reasons. And as per usual, we write everything down. Advice. C dash V C dash I dash VI dash sys, and just gonna do this real quick. GWQIOU and we want to split this last part into pairs. You'll see why. It'll be used for the Enigma cipher later. That's the alphabet. And this is edge root dependent. We need ports and serial number. So our serial number is actually ports first. We have 1, 2, 3. 3 ports, and now we need the serial number, which is 1 kilo 3 whiskey kilo 5. Okay, so what do? That's OBS. So, first thing we want to do is we grab our 2 unencrypted words, and we're gonna remove both of them. We're gonna remove all instances of their letters in the alphabet, and we're gonna do this separately. So we only remove wishbone in this alphabet and advice in this alphabet. So let me just do that real quick. W I S H B O N and E. Now, if the alphanumerical position of the first digit in the serial number, first letter in serial number is odd, we put the alphabet at the end of the word. Kilo is 11, so we put the alphabet at the end. And we do the same thing for advice. So A, D, V, I, C, and E. Now, if the last letter serial number is even, K is not even, it's odd. So, we're going to do the opposite of what we did here and put advice at the end. Okay, so with key A, what we want to do is split, actually, I should do this first. You want to append 2 pounds at the end of each key. Why, I'm not sure. Again, I think it's just for spacing reasons. But you want to split key A into 3 rows, each of them 9 letters long. And then we put it under the numbers that I already have set here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Afterwards, we want to write the numbers to the right of them. 1, 2, 3 for the first row, 4, 5, 6 for the second, and 7, 8, 9 for the last. Then, going down the column, we write our key B. So B would go here, the next column would be F, then G, then H, then J, K, L, M, N, and once we reach the end, we go back up. O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, W, X, Y, and Z, and then add vice and pound. Might just get rid of some of this extra space. Now, we're going to split our encrypted message into pairs. So 3 pairs to be exact. What we do is we find the column of the first letter in this section over here. So P is in column 9, and we write down 9. Then we find H in, oops, I actually forgot to do one thing real quick, and that is to write numbers across here. 8, 9. Okay. But we find H here, and find the intersection of P's row and H's column, and we get the number 4. Then we write down H's row, which is a 4. And we do that for each pair. D is found within the 2 column. And W is found within the 8 row, but again, first we want to write down their intersection. D's row is 4, 5, 6. W's column is 2, 5, 8. Their intersection is 5, so we write down 5. And then W's row, which is an 8. U is found here at column 4. And G is found at row 3. The intersection of these is 7, so we write down 7. And G is 3. Then what we want to do is we do the same thing as before, really. Well, we encrypt it this time, technically. So instead of reading it across the row, we're going to read it down the columns and find our new letters there. So we look down the 9 column, and just to be more clear, I'm going to space these out. So we're going to go down these columns. They're in one group. So we're going to find the 9 column. It could either be an A or a P. It's definitely not going to be a pound symbol. We're going to look at the 2 row, and since their intersection is the letter A, we write down A. Then we look at the 2 column, and find the letter in the 4th row, which is a Romeo. And we do that for each one. The 4th column is H, G, and U, but the 5th row is G, so we write down G. The 5th column is all of this, and it intersects at 7 with the letter U. 4 and 8, so we have the 4th row, which is H, G, and U again, and the 8th one is going to be a U. Then we find the 8th column, and then the intersection at the 3rd row, which is a Q. Alright, so that's that part done. Now we have the railfin cipher. And let me actually write down each possible combination real quick. As you can see, we have a bunch of different grids with X's and dots here. And as you can see, we're going to use the one based on the key we have, the key number. And the way we get our key number is we grab our number of ports, modulo that by 4, and then add 2. So in this case, we have 3 ports, we modulo it by 4, that gives us 3, and then we add 2 to give us 5. So our key number is 5, and we're going to use this one. So let me just copy and paste this over here real quick. Oh, and we take our decrypted quote-unquote word from step 1, and in reading order, we put down the letters at the axis. So we have A, R, G, U, U, and Q. Then we read these back in the order of going down then up, in diagonals. So that's going to be A, R, G, U, Q, U. And for example purposes, I'm going to do that with each key. You can skip ahead if you want. If we had a key number 4, we would have 4 rows like this. And our thing would be A, R, G, U, Q, U. And we write down A, R, U, U, Q, G. If we had the key of 3, okay, then it would be A R G U U Q, and going down then back up, it would be A G Q U R U. If we had the key of 2, let me get this real quick. It would be, again, we do it in reading order, so A R G U U Q. And in decrypting it in the correct order, it would be A U R U G Q. But again, we have a key of 5, so we just do this one. So let me section this off. And now we have my favorite part, the Enigma cipher. Yeah, so first thing we want to do is copy and paste all our information from for the Enigma cipher and our currently encrypted word. And you're gonna set this up in a very in a specific way. First thing you want is to put the alphabet here. Now, remember the pairs from before? Yeah, remember the pairs from before? You're going to switch the 2 letters at those positions. So, we have J and W, so J goes here, and W goes here. With Q and I, Q goes here, and I goes here. With O and U, U goes here, and O goes here. G and Z, Z goes here, G goes here, and with L and C, C goes here, L goes here. So, the way this works is that, actually, I shouldn't explain how it works yet, because I don't even have it set up. So each one of these letters refers to a rotor, and we're going to have to copy and paste that rotor here. The thing is read in bottom, middle, top. So I is the bottom rotor, VI, I should say it not stupidly. So 1 is the bottom rotor, 6 is the middle rotor, and I is the top rotor. So I'm going to copy and paste it. So we have rotor 3, Control C, Control V. Then rotor 6, and then rotor 1. Now the way I do it, if doing it by hand and not the interactive, which I would suggest you do use after you learn how to do it the inefficient way, is you see these asterisks. We're going to replace each one of the letters with asterisks with their lowercase counterparts, and that's just so that we don't forget what letter they are. So we have an L, Y, and for the bottom row, it doesn't really matter, but if you're like me and you like uniformity, you still do it. Now what we do is we remove all spaces in between the... We could do it 2 ways, where you remove all the spaces so that the columns line up, but I guess I'm gonna do it in the... Actually, no, I'm gonna remove all the spaces because it's gonna be easier to rotate them. Replace them all. So as you can see, we have just a giant jumbled mess, and we're not even done yet. I just remembered. Each one of these letters, they refer to each one of the rotors. So the first letter refers to this rotor, the second one to this rotor, and the third one to this rotor. What we do with those letters is we rotate it so that on the bottom row, that letter is in the bottom left corner. So for example, we put the S at the bottom left corner, and these are, I don't know the right word for it, but basically they're grouped together. So if this one moves, then this one has to move too. So we move this to the end, and so does this one. Now for the middle rotor, we have Y. So Y goes down here. Oops. Yeah. And that goes up here. And you can always double check because each thing has a pair above it. So that was rotor VI, and to make sure I did it correctly, the T and the Y lines up, meaning it is good. The last one we have is S again. So we rotate it like this and like this. And then after that, we grab the reflector. If PDF would like to load faster. And again, we just copy and paste the reflector. Replace all. And just because I like them to be spaced out. Okay, so I think I did everything so far. Okay, so the way the Enigma cipher works is that each letter goes down, well, you find the letter and you go down the column to get a new letter. So let's say, for example, the letter A. So we take A and we go down to G. We then find G on the in the opposite row in the same rotor. So we have to find G in here, and here it is. Then we go down from the letter in the bottom row to the letter in the top row in the next one. So from G we go to N, and then like before we find in the opposite row, which is an N here. And again, we drop down to the top row of the next rotor, which is a Q, find it in the bottom row, or in the opposite row, and then drop down to the reflector. This will never shift, by the way. Just keep that in mind for a future part. So Q goes down to Y. What we do here is that there's a letter below the one we just landed on. So as you can see, there's an I under the Y. We then find the I, and then go back up. So, say if it was Z and W, Z would go down to W, and W would go back up. So Y and I goes up to A. We find in the opposite row, which is here, A goes up to A again. Find it in the opposite row, A is right here, goes up to M. M is in this row, well right here, and that finally gives us a new letter of D, because we go up from M to get into our standard plug board. Then what we want to do is we want to shift this one to the left. So so the way it shifts is that after every time you encrypt a letter, or rather decrypt a letter, you get rid of the top left, get rid of the leftmost, you cycle it, the top rotor one to the left. So for example, this G and this S would go to the end. If it is a lowercase letter, or the asterisk, on the top rotor, then it's also going to move the bottom rotor. So for example, if the V is right here, so like in a couple of letters, the V is going to be right here. After we encrypt the letter where V is right here, V is going to move all the way here, and so is the Y over here. Now, if the middle rotor has the letter bottom left and it shifts to the shifts one left, then all three rotors are going to move as well. So after this Y moves over here, then this row will shift one to the left, This row will shift one to the left, and same with this one. The reflector and the plug board never move. Keep that in mind. And if the letter down here is bottom left, then nothing happens. You just ignore it. I think I probably left in the fact that we shift after we find a letter, we shift this one to the left. But since the Y is in the bottom left, since Y is bottom left and it's lowercase of the middle rotor, we shift everything one left as well. So we shift the T and the Y to go here, and we also shift the S's as they should go here as well. So our next letter is an R. R goes on to X. X goes on to V. V goes down to H. H goes down to O. O goes down to O's opposite is D. From D we go up to W. W to T. T to S. And S to E. No lowercase letters are bottom left, so we continue on. G goes, and again we shifted one to the left. G goes one down, G goes down to an A goes down to a U goes down to a Y goes down to an F, F's opposite is Q goes up to a J goes up to an F, and F goes up to a C goes up to an M. So we write down an M. We shift this one left, so we have K and U. So our next letter is U. U goes down to T. T goes down to C. C goes down to a B. B goes down to an I. I's opposite is Y. And from Y we go up to an R. R goes up to a D. D goes up to an M. And M goes up to an A. Now since the top rotor's bottom left letter is lowercase, we shift the middle and the top row. So we have M here and V and W and Z. This is going to be nice for me since the bottom row is just alphabetical. Now we take the letter Q. Q we go down to J. J we go down to an H. H we go down to an E. E to an L. L's opposite is a P. And from P we go up to an I. I goes up to a C. C goes up to a T. And T goes up to an N. No lowercase letters are bottom left, so we shift this as we normally would. Our last letter is a U. U goes down to a V. From V we go down to T. From T we have an O. And from O we have a V. V's opposite is X, so we go up the X column. X goes to a Q. Q goes to an O. O goes to a B. And B goes up to a D. So we have the word demand, and we input it like so. I don't know why this one has smaller text, but doesn't bother me, I guess.
This was exactly right now. Meant to happen.
Yep, and as per usual, let's do a second example. We just have one port, and our serial number is Whiskey Zulu 5, Uniform Lima 9. So let's write down the information. We have VDR FNF, Xylo and numbers, B175, HYB, and QAW FC SD. Now, just a small note about this last screen. It can range from, I've seen it as low from 3 pairs to 5 pairs, to as high as 5 pairs. So it's not always going to be the same number of like swaps you have to do. But anyways, let's go on to this. So same thing as before, we take our 2 words that are actually words, and we remove them from the alphabet. So in Silo, we get rid of the X and the Y, the O and the L, and if the first letter of the serial number is even, I believe, let's see, oops. Nope, if it's odd, then we put the alphabet at the end. And we do the same thing for numbers here. So we get rid of the N, the U, the M, the B, E, R, and S. If the last letter is even, we put the alphabet at the end of the word. L is even, so we do it like this. And again with both keys, we put pound at the end. So, with key A, we split it into 3 9-letter rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do I count? That, and that. And we copy and paste this over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, like before, we write the numbers. And now, like before, we write this going down the row from left to right. So we have N, U, M, B, E, R, S, A, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, O, P, Q, T, V, W, X, Y, Z, pound. Okay, so we take the letter V, we find the column it's in this case column 6, write down that column, and find which one of the 3 columns for key B it could be. That could be 7, 8, or 9. We find the letter, actually let me split these up into pairs. We then take the next letter in our pair, which is a D. Forgot to write the row numbers again, like a moron. But we take 7, 8, 9, find the column for D, that being column 8. We write that down, and then the row for D, which is 1. We have R and F now. R's column is 2. Its rows are 7, 8, and 9. F is in the 8, and its row is 2. Our last pair, which is N and F, N can be found here at column 8, with rows 4, 5, and 6. And then we find F, find the column, so in this case 5, since the F goes up to the middle row. Yep, and then we write down F's row. And like before, we read these down the columns and see which ones, and get new letters based on that. So we take the 6th column and the 2nd row and find their intersection, which is a B. Then we take the 2nd column and the 8th row, their intersection is an L. We do the same here. So 8 and 8 intersect at a Z, and 8 and 5 intersect at a U. 1 and 2 intersect at an X. Yeah. And 2 and 2 intersect at an F. Again, like before, we take the number of ports we have, modulo by 4 and then add 2, and then we get a key number for the next part. So 1 mod 4 is 1, add 2 is 3. So we take this, since we have the key of 3, and we put the letters in rating order. So it would be B, L, Z, U, that stays as an X, and then F. And then we read these in going from top to bottom and then up. Yeah, top to bottom, then back to top, and then right. So we have B, Z, F, U, L, X. Okay, section this off. Now we have the final part, that being the Enigma cipher. Again, we take the alphabet, swap the 2 letters at the positions, so we have N and Q. So we swap those 2. Then we swap the one A and W, and then we swap F and C. Oh, and I didn't see the S and D we had. S and D, and that's it. That's it for our plug board. Next thing we have is the bottom rotor, which is 1. So I'll just put that down here. Our middle rotor of 7. And our top rotor of 5. Replace the asterisk with lowercase letters, so that becomes an M. This becomes a lowercase h, and U, Q, and D. Now we find all the spaces and we just remove them. Place all. Yep. Oops, I forgot about our reflector again. And again, we put the reflector beneath it. Please replace all. Oops. Okay. Replace spaces with blanks. There we go. Okay, now, again, these correspond to each of the rotors. So, H corresponds to the bottom rotor. Right? Yeah. So, we put H bottom left. Okay, so... And again, the top and bottom rows are connected with each other. It's a D. The middle one is Y. And the top one is V. So we can just delete this VA and put it over here. Okay. Now, again, like before, we're going to go down and then back up. So, we take the letter B, we go down to the letter B, find it in the next part, well, the next row, and then go down to get a D. D goes down to get an O, and O goes down to get an H. H's opposite is an O, and O goes back up to a V. V goes up to a Z, Z goes up to an E, and E goes up to an A. So our first letter is A, nothing is bottom left, so we just cycle the top one. Yeah, okay. Z and V. We take the letter Z. Z drops down to a Z. Z drops down to an E. E drops down to a W. W drops down to a P, P's opposite is a G, so we go up G to an N goes up to a B goes up to a Q, and Q goes up to a D. So we get the letter D. Nothing is lowercase in the bottom left corner, so we cycle it. Okay, now we have the letter F. F goes down to an I goes down to an H goes down to an X goes down to Q, Q's opposite is a B, going up from B we get an I goes up to get an M goes up to an N, and N goes up to a J. Nothing is lowercase, so we cycle this one, R and D. Take the letter U. Alright. So U goes down to C goes down to K goes down to P goes down to I is W, no, I's opposite is W goes up to D to an X to an N, and N to an I. Let me just check the log real quick to make sure I didn't mess something up. Okay, I found my issue. I actually wrote down U instead of an I for this part. So I'm just gonna have to replace all I's in here. That becomes an I. Actually, I just Control Z a bunch. So I think after that, yeah, okay. So, all these U's were actually I's, and it was basically just a typo. So, let's go back to what we were doing. From I we go down to an N. From N we go down to an X. From X we go down to a D. From D we go down to a W. W's opposite is I. And from I we go to a P. We go up to K. And from a K we go up to C. And from C we go up to U. Okay. Nothing is lowercase bottom left, so we just cycle it. Next thing we have is an L. From L we go down to A. We go down to an L. From L we go down to an A. From A to T, and T's opposite is K. We go up to an R. We go up to an O. From O to a U, and from U to an S. Okay, now we have the letter X. Oh, actually, let me cycle it. Yep, I and F. Okay, we take the letter X. X goes down to an R. R goes down to a Y. Y goes down to a Q. Q goes down to a J. J's opposite is L. From L we go to an S. From S we go to a J. From J we go to a K. And from K we go to a T. So we put in the word adjust.
This was exactly what I found the things were meant to happen.
And that is Black Cipher. I hope you learned it. I'm really tired, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and get a job.